In studio with us, Councillor Jonathan Torresan. Councillor, thank you for gracing us with your presence this afternoon.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. It's been a busy couple of weeks because of the budget, but also busy for you prepping for the Rise of Skywalker, I'm sure, in your household.
Yeah, big Star Wars fans in our house. We've really been enjoying The Mandalorian and all of the new Star Wars movies that have come out over the last 5 years since Disney bought the brand. We've loved everything they've put out.
Okay. And I've enjoyed The Mandalorian as well. If you guys haven't had Disney Plus, you should check that out.
Solid.
It's a very solid show. Hashtag Baby Yoda. Of course, it's been a busy year prior to even the budget season. You guys have had to pass a number of specific policies that will have an effect over the next couple of years. Obviously, the wastewater treatment plant really got headway this year. And you guys have been out and about in a lot of community events and causes, specifically around the summer and springtime.
Yeah, there's always plenty of opportunities for different events. I know I've been asked on behalf of the mayor to bring greetings on to a handful of them, and then there's the other events that you go to with your family, like the Canada Day celebrations and things like that. So they're always a good time, and they're always a lot of fun for families. So it's really nice to be able to have those events in our community, both the ones put on by the city and the one put on by different groups and not-for-profits. But it really goes to show how great of a community it is to live in when you can have the opportunity for those fun things to do as a family throughout the year.
How much of a difference do you think, because we've seen the spirit of the community alive in events like that, but how much of a difference do you think if there's a movement in the oil and gas sector in particular that will start to move some of these other things going around the city in the next couple of years, bring in more economic growth?
Yeah, well, specifically around economic growth, I think when we're talking about community events and community engagement, there's a component to economic development that is community development. So these different events that go on and the different not-for-profits and the different programs and services provided by the city, all of those lead into economic development one way or another, because you provide a place where people want to live. If people want to live there, then someone could potentially have a business that could be successful there, because you could recruit and attract employees to want to live there. So all of these things are connected, and I think they're really important, even as oil and gas is not necessarily as strong as it once has been, but even as a regional center that can provide quality programs and services, and there's lots going on, I think all of those are a benefit to the city as far as economic development.
And that's something that kind of leads into what you've talked about in council with the 2.5% increase on the tax levy, which obviously wasn't great news for most people, even the people who were in favor of the increase. There is a benefit to getting off of land sales in previous years, as council has done, and then there's a benefit to getting off of utilities as well moving forward.
Right. What I'd first say is that the land sales issue, when that adjustment was made in the last few years, that was more reactionary to the fact that that revenue is gone. So we can't keep property taxes deflated because we have this land sale revenue, because it was gone. So you just had to make the adjustment because your expenses still were what they always were, but you didn't have the revenue to support it. Whereas on the utility side, we've been looking down into the future for the past few years and saying, okay, we've got this $80 million wastewater treatment plant. Even if we can get 60% funded by other levels of government, we still have that 40% or whatever the exact number is that we would have to pay for through our utility revenue. Well, if in the past we've made profits off our utility revenue to keep property taxes low, we therefore have to start weaning ourselves off of that. So that's something that's been happening over the past few years and continued through the current year budget, and that does lead to part of the 2.5% increase. One of the other really big things within this budget, as far as the 2.5% increase though, is how much our fire service has changed over the past year. We've implemented a fire master plan. We now have more full-time unionized firefighters than we've ever had before, and we now have more paid-on-call firefighters than we've ever had before. And that's going to provide a level of service that the city's never had in terms of the ability to do extrications from a home. And really, that's the level of service that I think most people believed that they were getting already, but wasn't there. And that's important to us. And from a quality of life perspective, it's important to be able to provide that level of service to people. So like I was saying, on the economic development point, you have to provide a certain level of services that people expect or better, so that you can get to the point where you are attracting people to want to live in that place, and that overall can help you, stir more businesses and get more people to live there.
Reasonably said. We have to get out of here quickly, but first, what will you be watching at home with the family this Christmas season?
I will be watching 3 small children ripping Christmas paper off of their presents.
And then doing some cleanup afterwards, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Recycling that stuff.
Oh, see, economically and environmentally sound man.
Hey, you got to keep an eye on those things.
Absolutely. Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you very much.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.